All right, we'd like to welcome everyone back to the Trampled Underfoot podcast show. Your hosts are Mark Lindsay and Eloy Escajedo. I do have an unwelcomed, you could say, visitor, which is a fly that decided to, at the most inopportune time, enter into the shot and just wave. Now, I see it more, but you guys may see him wave hello every now and again.
Yeah,
So,
land on your forehead and crawl around,
yeah.
do
Like,
all those strange things. Everybody wants to get into the act. It's like, look, dude, hello, my baby. Hello, my honey, my little ragtime gal.
bing,
You know.
bing, bing, bing.
So
It's
what's
unbelievable.
going on in wonderful, wonderful Florida?
Man, Florida is the best place in the universe.
Is it
It's so awesome. I can't even tell you.
in the universe?
In the multiplex of universes that may or may not
Okay,
exist.
okay, okay, okay.
I
All
will tell
right.
you this though.
Pretty bold claim, but
Well, I didn't bet anything on it, so
oh, okay.
um I will say that I have been recently, just as a brief aside, since you asked the question,
Mhm.
been nighttime biking through
Uh-huh.
my hometown. Finally getting those pedals used
Yeah.
to that new bike that I bought. Um and I've had some very amazing experiences in a very simple activity,
Hmm.
in that I've remembered my experiences as a kid
Yeah.
traveling those neighborhoods in this town on bike, and the smells and the things. So on bike, all the things you would run into because you are on bike,
Hmm.
like a car getting in the way, or a smell of some trees or
Hmm.
flowers from the trees, or bugs or spiders web that gets into your face.
Yeah.
Things that I had forgotten, um, and also the way I used to brake by reverse pedaling and stopping the bike.
Yeah.
Um, just a whole host of different, and the way my butt hurt. All those key little things, but most of all, it's the whole experience of doing that. Um, has been very enjoyable, and I've been doing it roughly within a continuous basis and stuff. So that's been very enjoyable, different, and getting a little bit of exercise in as well. Yeah.
And getting out of the house. I mean, a little bit of change of scenery and some fresh air, and like you say, the different sights and different smells.
Yeah.
What kind of bike you got?
It's like a mountain bike type deal.
Okay, so
It's actually
pretty wide tires.
it's wide tires,
Hmm.
wide. I mean, and it's actually a girl's bike.
Oh, okay.
Now, if I were a kid,
Oh yeah.
I'd be troubled by it. But I'm so confident in my masculinity that I'm, because what it is it was on sale, and it's such a
Mhm.
good looking bike. Except the handlebar bar goes, or the middle part goes down as women do and stuff. But I
Mhm.
thought to myself, why would I want the bar that goes up? Well, first of all, that was the one that was on sale and it was good, like to what I needed. So I got it. But I'm thinking to myself, why do men's bikes have the straight edge? Wouldn't it be the other way, where men have enough room that if they fall,
Yeah, I've often thought that too. See, I
yeah,
learned how to ride bike on a girl's bike. I inherited my aunt's bike when she outgrew it. My dad's baby sister, and dad brought it home. Uh, they gave it to my dad. He brought it home. He painted it, and gave it to me. And
yeah,
I was, I want to say 4, and I learned how to ride on that bike. And I would get up onto this tree stump we had out in our front yard, and I'd push the bike over, get up onto the tree stump, sit down on the seat, and if I pushed myself fast enough, I could get my feet on the pedals and get pedaling
yeah.
and not fall over. If I didn't somehow manage to do that, I'd fall over. And you going back and forth and lifting up I wasn't strong enough to lift up the back tire, but I get it in the grass and get the back tire moved to where the pedals were in the right position, to where when I pushed myself off, I could just start pedaling and go. But I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
You know, why the heck would men have that straight bar across there? If you fell forward off the seat, you're going to damage the goods. And well, I know why girls' bikes have the frame that goes down like that.
Why?
That was so they could, because back when these bikes were invented and marketed for men and women wore dresses and skirts,
Gotcha.
and you could wear a dress or a skirt and it stayed down. You weren't
Gotcha.
showing off your goods.
Very good.
So, but yeah, so I was real young at the time, and by the time I got my next bike, I didn't want nothing to do with no girl's bike. But I was so young, I didn't even know it was a girl's bike. All I knew is I had a bike.
Well, this doesn't look like you look at it,
Mm-hmm.
unless you're thinking about it really, because now they have all sorts of frame designs that are slightly variations.
Yeah.
This is a rugged, freaking looking bad to the bone bike. Like it's blue. It's got this blue, like this sort of metallic type blue. I forget the brand. I think it's Huffy.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a bad, and it's got shocks, dude.
Yeah.
It's got front and back shocks, and it was inexpensive as hell. And I bought it thinking in terms of, well, I want to change things up, and I need to do some exercise, but like walking doesn't. Yes, it's good, but I need something that that would motivate me and whatnot. And with this,
Mm-hmm.
it's almost like you're on a little journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I do it at night. So
Well,
at night, there's nobody around.
mm-hmm.
So you get to explore the streets, the main streets of South Florida, virtually with just the average one car every now and again,
Yeah.
or a pedestrian maybe.
Mm-hmm.
But I do it like when it's like nice and way in the evening, night, let's say.
Now, are you keeping track of your mileage?
I'm not doing that. I'm just doing it.
Because
I'm
there
going.
are apps you can put on your phone that will track your mileage, of that trip, or how fast you're going and various thises and that. So I didn't know if you were doing any of that or not really.
No, I'm not. I'm just
Okay.
taking it. I'm going everywhere. I do have a
Mhm.
planned journey. Sometimes I mix it up and stuff, but I've been exploring in different ways and getting. It sounds simple, but I've been
Not great.
focused. Well, but it's a simple, average something
Mhm.
that anybody will do. But to me, it's been very how cathartic in many ways.
Yeah, there you go. The Night Rider.
The Night Rider.
You need to get you a little red LED that goes back and forth and put them under your handlebars.
and and instead of like the little ching chling, it'll have
Yeah.
a little
Do.
but the experience, as simple as it sounds, because it is simple, it's an average thing.
Mhm.
It's sort of like you're exercising, which is a good thing, but mentally it's also, it clears the decks.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
It really does. It clears the decks, and because I've been so focused in my headspace doing genealogy, like I've really doubled
Mhm.
down on doing that and researching that, because it's its own adventure. You're almost like some sort of what you call, I don't know, detective.
Yeah. You're
And
a
so
combination of detective and anthropologist all in one. Yeah.
yeah, so it's very addictive to do, and plus you're doing it of your own
Mhm.
family, so it's doubly and
Yeah.
plus all the weird variations that you find. Like the other day I was telling you about freaking indigenous people from the Canary. I would not have guessed that.
Yeah.
Indigenous people in the Canary Islands, that's a mind-blowing thing. And a Jewish person marrying and just all these things so but bike riding is a nice that, and I've ignored that kind of thing for quite a while. So yeah.
And that's what I meant by getting out of the house and getting fresh air.
Mhm.
Because I get the same way. I mean, you get so focused on one thing and you start delving into details, and my
Mhm.
eyes just, I can't take it. I can't do that for very long. And fortunately, I've got the shop here that I can come out and get out into and do something else, even if it's just picking up or cleaning up, or come out, vacuum the floor, or put some clamps away, or do whatever. Just anything to get away from the damn computer and open up my mind a little bit and think about something else.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm a big fan of it. I think we all need to get away every once in a while.
Yeah, it's been a tough. You only experience what you from your vantage point, the world. I know I've mentioned this before, but it's like you can get trapped in little corners of the maze
Oh yeah.
because there's so much to explore in certain parts of
Hmm.
life. Um,
And let's just face it, some corners of the maze are cooler than others. And maybe you don't mind being in this corner of the maze for a while, but you still got to get out every once in a while and do things. Whether it be just go grocery shopping or go pay a bill or what have you. Take your mind away from what you're doing, because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Um, if you focus too hard, you'll
you
miss
blow
the
a gas.
shine. Well, yeah, you'll
What were you
miss
gonna
the
say?
shiny thing out of the corner of your eye,
Yeah,
you know? And I mean, it happens all the time. How many times do we miss something because we're focused on something else? We probably never know because we missed it. But,
there you go.
you know, it's
We
just
don't.
one of those unquantifiable things. So,
We don't.
uh-oh, I opened up the trap. Get away? Let's go fishing. One of these days. It's too hot now.
Wait a second. Wait, hold on. What? Wait. I'm sorry. I'm not putting you on the spot because I know that there's wiggle room here.
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
Wait. No, because now this is a freaking. Now this is a. No, I'm stirring. No.
Yeah, you are.
Okay. All right. So, damn it, I've got. Okay. So, I was just gonna say that after that monologue you just gave me, and now
Mhm.
you're saying, it's too hot. I mean, come on. See,
Well,
I wanted.
it's legit. I mean, I'm serious. Linda knows. Going fishing this time of year, where we are, the fish are all deep,
Wait.
and we don't have a boat.
First of all, this whole fishing idea. Number one, we have to get there. See, that's obstacle. And then there's all this equipment, and by the way, and there's gonna be fish over there. The whole thing sounds like a nightmare.
Actually, no. It's kind of fun. It's productive laziness
Mhm.
because you got to sit there and be quiet.
Right.
And we can talk back and forth with each other, but not super loud. But the thing about it is around here we're in Oregon, so we're talking cold water fish, trout, um,
Mm.
landlocked salmon, things like that. And they're just cold water fish. And when it gets this hot, when the surface temperature gets as hot as it is now, they head for the depths. And our local lake here, Lost Creek, it's over 200 feet deep. We don't have a boat, so we're not getting out to where the fish are.
Gotcha.
Now we can go drown worms, but that'd be about it. So we went back in June and we did okay. But
I'm enjoying the bike ride
mhm,
as a variation. And again, it sounds
mhm,
simple because it is simple, but that option, although I know it
mhm.
was available to me always,
Yeah.
in effect, breaking a routine and starting something different. And by the way, I
Mhm.
don't want to over stress this because then I'll go ahead and say, well, I overstress. I played my cards too heavy there. Now I'm not going to do jack squat. So I don't want to fool my brain into saying, "Good job, you're changing up a little bit." No, I don't want to do that because then that's
Well,
begging to self mess
well,
my
so long as you keep it fun, I don't know that you'd get into that kind of a situation, man. I mean, because there's a lot of nostalgia involved in it. Because
yeah
I mean, you and me grow up in a time where we practically lived on our bikes.
yeah
I mean, good God, until I got my driver's license, I don't think my bike ever sat long enough to get a cobweb on it, because I was always on it, going somewhere. I mean, get up in the morning, Saturday mornings, and watch a couple hours of cartoons, maybe, and then outside.
Yeah.
Then it was just riding around the neighborhood to find where all the bikes were, to figure out where all your friends were, and go to that house. And then next thing you know, it's, hey, let's go here, and then gone. We
Hmm.
go miles away, and what the heck? It was just a lot of fun.
Well, one
And
of the go ahead. I'm sorry.
well, now I can't be bothered. If I could fit the Jeep in the house, I'd drive to the bathroom. You know.
And me too. That's been the Vigo. Stop that, please. Son of a gun. Anyways, me too. Hey, how about that for for a professional show? And now the
Yeah.
camera's blurring out and stuff. Um,
One of these days we'll get this right. Yeah.
I was gonna say that we used to sweat all the time,
Oh yeah.
and now even at night because it's Florida. But when I come back from my little journey, um, I'm sweating like I'd not sweat in years, and I'm like, oh, I remember this is called sweat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's above my pay grade. I don't sweat no more. I'm retired.
Because you can sweat. There's a little sweat thing that happens in a normal thing, but
Oh,
this is
sure.
like where you can touch your back and you're like, oh wow, I'm actually like the body is sweating. I'm like,
Hmm.
wow, oh yeah, I remember that.
Oh yeah. When your T-shirt changes color, you know it's time to go in the house.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah. We had a great old time as kids, in our simple but glorious ways.
Robin says sweating to the oldies. No, this is sweating as an oldie. Now I don't speak for Eloy. I speak for me.
No, that's fine. Ain't nothing, ain't nothing wrong with. I was telling Mark in the back because I've been watching. I have something to share with you guys out there and Mark because I want to see where we're all at and whatnot with these things. But before I say that, because it's unfortunate, but we talk and things happen, and we go in directions. I wanted to say that. So I've been watching those mini docs of. You talked about it. Who do you think you are?
Yeah.
I've been seeing a few of those because it's related to what I'm into,
Yeah. The genealogy. Yeah.
and there's so many great stories.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
There's some tragic stories, but there's some really awesome stories, some really surprising stories with these people.
yeah.
And yeah, it's interesting as heck to me.
One of them, there's a few of them, but the one that I'll share just for the heck of it, just briefly, is and you're kind of associated with that through her name,
Uh-oh.
Christina Applegate.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Did you see her episode?
No, I didn't see her
Oh,
episode. Maybe I gotta go look it up.
I think you have to look it up.
Oh, okay.
However, I'll I'll, I'll warn.
Hmm.
It is probably one of the. It was touching, and
Okay.
slightly. It was touching, heartbreaking.
Okay. Okay.
But it's powerful. And sometimes it's just shy of how much you can bear to watch. It's
Mm.
not gross or anything,
Yeah.
but it's sad enough the elements involved in the story that so sometimes something is that hard hitting, but
Mm.
and I don't want to give it away,
Okay.
but
Yeah. No worries. I'm.
but I
Yeah.
will say this one thing: her father did not really know his mother,
Okay.
and they investigate the why,
Okay.
and it's
It
emotional.
leads down a trail. Okay.
It's a trail and a half.
Okay.
So stuff like that, yeah.
I don't know if we're related. I never thought to look into it. I never thought to look into Christina Applegate and see if we're related or not. And yeah, Al has it right. Uh, no spoilers. Exactly. So now the Applegate family, they're cousins. They married into the family way back. So the descendants of Daniel and Rachel would be cousins of mine, but I don't know. So
You want to know
Rob,
how? You
Robin's asking why. Why would I be related? Well, because we're talking back in the 1700s. Daniel Applegate married into my family. He married my, let's see, it would be my great, 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 great grandfather's sister. And their three sons were instrumental in, well, one of their sons, Jesse Applegate, led the cattle column, they called it, all the ranchers and cattle owners that came out in the 1843 migration out here west. And between the three brothers that came out, they were pretty much instrumental in forming the Oregon Territory, getting it recognized by the United States government, and then eventually Oregon statehood. So
yeah.
they're cousins. And so I don't know if Christina is a part of that line or not, because there are a lot of Applegates. That's a more common name than I thought it was.
I have an Applegate but the lady, it's very. I don't want to get into too much because it opens up too many.
Yeah.
But I've shown you that Applegate before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't think they're in our line at all.
I don't think they're in your so the lady is Applegate by marriage.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what was weird because she looks like she's from some place up in Northwest, but she's actually originating in Puerto Rico. I think that's what it was. So it's these variations that we talk. But anyways, the reason I brought this whole thing up is that in the behind this last thing I'll say about this, behind the scenes, Mark and I were talking about this here and there, and I mentioned in terms of like age and stuff we were talking about and stuff, and I said, "Oh, Mark, eventually I'm gonna look just like my grandfather." Nose, the Escajedos are known for big nose, and but the ears, I didn't get that, but the ears usually stick up like slightly like that and stuff. There's a certain look that they have. You know how families run with the look, and I've looked. I don't know. You tell me. This is in addition to what we were talking about before that. There's times when I look at myself in the mirror, and turn my head slightly, where I quite miss my look, but my eye to eye in the mirror or the facial. But there's a moment, and it reminds me of my grandfather or my father.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy smokes!
If you look in the right light at just the right moment, and it may just be a glimpse.
Yes.
I can see a lot of my mother in me, in my face. And then other times I'll turn another direction and I see my father. It just depends on the angle, which way I look, and, all this other good stuff, and the lighting, of course. But do you notice changes physically? Or are they so gradual you don't really notice them?
It's like so if I look at myself straight up, I just see myself.
Yeah.
I mean, I can see that we're in the family. Like I can see, oh yeah, I'm my father's son, but in a sense. But there's certain like moments. Maybe you're walking by the mirror and you turn your head and you look and you catch your eye and you catch a part of the shadow or whatnot. Something, and you look and you're saying, "Holy smokes!
Yeah,
this is my grandfather."
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in reality, you know what I'm saying? Just it doesn't have to be the whole face. I'm just saying that a certain little snippet section, and you're like, holy crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like that. It's just, dude.
Yeah, it is. I'm trying to think what all these facial expressions were as I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever seen either of my grandparents, but I definitely see a lot of my mother, and I see occasionally little twinges of my father. But I also see different changes in me. Like this thing right here. I got a dent for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know where that came from. I don't know where it started. I don't know what it is. Well, it's within the last 5 years.
Okay.
But I couldn't tell you when it happened. I can't even tell you what it is. It's just like, where the hell did that come from? And now I got to stretch that cheek when I go to shave, as I do so often, as you can tell.
Well,
No, my wife, even Linda, even pops in and said, "I see mostly your mom." Yeah, a lot of people say that. Well, folks that knew my mother, but
I'm probably closest in appearance to I mean, you can either go, but to my grandfather. You've seen
mhm,
pictures. I don't know.
yeah,
One day we could set them in a row of the photos, but I
mhm,
think that these things get passed on. Obviously, I mean, it is
they
part of
do,
the whole story.
they do.
Um, but I'm just saying that it's. But it also gets me to think. Last thing before we get into this thing, it also leads me to think what other characteristics are also passed. Here's Let me just say this, and you tell me what you think in a general sense. It doesn't. We don't have to.
Okay.
But I'm just going to throw this at you because if I don't say it now, I'll probably forget the whole thing. What other characteristics? They do not have to be like what we're talking about, ears or nose or
Hmm.
whatnot, but maybe attitude wise, personality wise. How much of that, if you've ever been able to suss out, oh, wait a second, that seems like something that so and so would. Now, second part to this, and I'll end it. And if it's true that there is something like that that you've seen, if it is passed on by a father or mother, how far back was that certain something possible? How far back, in theory, could that certain something, that certain little thing, have been passed on? 2 generations, 3 generations? Is it something just the one generation? Is it unrelated, or is it
Um,
something from way back, like just a certain little nugget that gets
I
passed on? I'll
I
leave.
can't think of anything personality wise. I kind of bucked the trend. My dad was pretty quiet. My grandfather was his dad was very quiet. Um, didn't really have much to say unless spoken to. But as both of them aged, the more they started to open up, and the more they talked to people, the more they wanted to associate with people, and they got happier and seemed to have a lot more fun and seemed to enjoy conversation and talking to people.
The older they
Um,
got.
the older they got.
Gotcha.
I've always been a talker, uh, fairly loud, very gregarious. I'll just start up a conversation with the dude next to me in the grocery line. I don't care.
You'd fit right. You know what? You'd fit. You'd fit. They could drop you in the center of like Domino's Park here, where all the Cubans are smoking cigars. And you probably just awash right into the because that's exactly the description of loud and boisterous. And go ahead.
Well, I'm relatively loud in that I'm not afraid to say it. I don't, say anything bad or
No, no,
wrong,
no. But
nothing
but
malicious,
animated.
and very animated.
Yeah,
Not as outspoken as I used to be, but always wanting to laugh and always wanting to smile
yeah.
and wanting to enjoy. So if I can come up with a joke, I'll do it.
I'm not
It
much
may
of a
not be a
smiler.
good joke, but it's a joke nonetheless. If I can make
See,
somebody smile, my work here's done.
I'm not. I can be gleeful, but I'm not much of a smiler. I'm not much of a smiler for some reason. Like
Hmm.
I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying I'm not. It's a weird thing. And I'm very quiet, even though you may. I don't know what, but I'm very compared to. So we're. I never heard. I know you said that you broke the mold in that sense because they were all very quiet, your folks and
Hmm.
whatnot. Well, my family was pretty much like that, like super quiet in terms of you didn't hear them making a ruckus and such. But the neighborhood that had a ruckus going all the
Yeah.
time. But we grew up. There was a slight different attitude in the people that were my people, let's say
Hmm.
my
Yeah.
specific. There was a certain more and I think that passed because I never heard anybody like, unless it was an event, like
Yeah.
let's say somebody stubbed their foot,
Hmm.
but other than that they spoke low when speaking to each other. It was more of an even keeled experience in that
Well,
way.
it also depends on the setting. It depends on the situation. When you got families sitting around Christmas, all BSing and talking and joking and laughing with each other and eating, and the
Carrying on.
adult beverages are being passed around and what have you. That's
Yeah.
one setting. Sitting in church is another setting, and maybe a family barbecue or picnic, or just out and about wherever. I don't stand up in the middle of the church and start doing my rendition of Led Zeppelin's Immigrant Song. It there are certain protocols you have to follow.
Yeah.
But if I drop something in the checkout line, I'll pick it up and say a few words and look at the guy next to me and go, yeah, guess I should have held on to that a little bit better or something, or whatever. I mean, I will start a conversation about the dumbest things. We'll both start making fun of the hair ribbon that the cashier's got in her hair or something. I don't know. Just
Casual talk.
banter.
Banter.
Exactly. You know, but I don't know. That's me. I'm a gregarious guy. I'll talk to anybody. I don't care.
Well, you have that quality about you that makes all those different things make you who you are, unique in this world and stuff. And it's true at a societal level, maybe
Mhm.
local to you or local to me. Um, may, I mean, you've mentioned as much, but and I'm kind of rambling within this subject, but just one last thing. But you may notice things about your family, how they, in a general sense, how they did things that
Mhm.
were not the same as your surroundings. Do you have any of things like that?
Not really. My father was always the kind of guy to, oh, let's just do it and get it over with. That kind of thing. I'll give you an example. Um, I pulled into a gas station. Uh, that this is back when I worked for a company working on slot machines, uh, fixing slot machines in like gas stations or God, you name it, bars, convenience stores, whatever. And I got a call to this one gas station, and it wasn't far from my parents' house. And I pulled in my van, I parked, and I go inside. And as I'm walking up to the clerk to get him to sign a ticket, as I'm filling this machine,
Mm.
I look out and my dad's getting gas. And so I'm back on the machine, and he comes in and he pays the dude, and about three people walk in after him. And I'm talking to him, but he's paying no attention at all. Absolutely none. And he goes outside. And so I'm like, okay, all right, Pop, whatever. I get done, finish my stuff, go over, put all my stuff in my van. I close the door, and I'm wearing my uniform. I've got a radio on my belt with a microphone on a cord up over my shoulder. It's clipped up here to my lapel. I've got a big belt with tools and keys and crap hanging off of it. And I'm wearing sunglasses, and I go walking towards him. And he looks up at me and he goes, "Oh, Jesus." Like that. And that's literally, I could hear him mutter, "Oh, Jesus." And he looks up and he goes, "What now?" And I says, "I love you too, Pop." "Oh, hell, it's you." He didn't know who it was. He
Oh
didn't recognize
crap!
me. He didn't know none of that. And I'd seen him like 2 weeks before,
Oh
you know,
crap! That's
but he'd never
hilarious.
seen me in my work uniform. So he didn't pay any attention. He wasn't looking above the neck. He just thought, I'm going to come out and say something about the pumps broke or something like that. There was going to be a problem. But that was his attitude. I just want to get it and get out of here. I want to go home. Don't
That's a
talk to me. Don't mess with me.
let me okay, last one. Let me share this similar, not really, but it's a dad story. My dad used to work. He retired, but he used to work at the boat boat yard,
Mm-hmm.
and I was already a young man, you know, growing into myself. So I was all buff and whatnot at that particular age. My dad was already getting old and
Mm-hmm.
slightly frail, and not frail, but he was, you know, he was
Yeah,
a much
getting older.
older. And he said, "Come take a ride with me. I got to go to the boatyard, and I got to go pick some things up at the office, and blah blah blah." I said, "Okay, Dad." And I jumped in, and we went down to downtown Miami with my dad, like we used to do when we were kids. And we get there, and there was a night guy there, and it was nighttime, and we walked, and I'm I'm not super tall. I'm average to, I'm an average sized, in height, but taller than my dad, and definitely taller than the night guy that was there. Slightly younger, maybe at that time he was in his 40s or whatnot, and I was quite, buff and whatnot, skinny and all this, and we arrive and the guy's looking at me and looks at my dad, and my dad's saying, "Oh yeah, this is that." Is that and this is my son, and he point, and this is my son. He points up, right,
Mm-hmm.
and the guy looks at me and he says, "This is how I looked like when I was young. You see that?" And my dad went. So I felt like flesh out of meat,
A piece of
market
meat. Yeah.
being sold and he went, "You see those arms?" And he was like, "You see that?" And, and the guy looked at me and the guy looked at me and he's like, so I could see in his eyes that he was calculating in his, at least I assumed this, that, oh, so this guy used to be like, you know what I'm saying? Like he was
Yeah.
calculating all these things. And my dad was quite proud, saying, see this energetic buck right here? That used to be me. So keep that in mind, bucko. It's
Yeah.
kind of like what he was saying.
Yeah.
It was such a hilarious, I don't even know what to make of it, but it's a nice memory to have at
Hmm.
this point. Yeah.
That is fun. That's fun.
Yeah, it's a fun thing, but he
Yeah.
he was vicariously. I guess this is what it is. He was vicariously, um, it's like bucking up
Yeah.
through me, like saying, "You
Hmm.
see that? That's
Yeah.
me." So you see, so I'm not, this old gentleman you see here. No, 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 that's me. And it was one of those things. So yeah. Um. Anyways, should we do this bit and
Well,
see?
whatever, wherever you want to go, man. Wherever you want to go.
Okay, so for everyone, I'm gonna ask. So we've done similar things before. There's certain words that are meanings and things that we kind of hear. A lot of them we know, and some of them we don't. And I'm gonna ask Mark. Mark, I'm gonna ask you. Have you heard this word or saying?
Hmm.
And then the follow up is, you know, something to the effect of, have you used it? And what is your definition of this, or where is the origin of this? As a note, I have the list. I did not look them up to prepare and know them before, so I have my own opinions according to
Okay.
each one without knowing whether it's true or not. So just to be fair of what's going on for all of you guys out there, and for Mark, which I did explain to Mark earlier, but I don't know either 100%. I just know what I think I know about these words.
Okay.
So I'll shoot some off and see how it goes, and we can
Okay.
always.
That,
Okay, so
full disclosure, I'm a word nerd, so this kind of stuff is fun for me.
we'll try it. We'll try it and we'll see. I don't have a thing that's blocked over. Okay, there. All right. So the first word or saying is hunky dory. What does hunky dory mean?
To me, I've it's always been kind of sort of the same as fine and dandy.
I
Everything is
agree.
hunky dory. Everything
I
is just it's yeah,
I
it's
agree
good.
with you. And it's that's fine, sir. It's all hunky dory. No problem.
And
It's hunky dory.
and occasionally I'll throw in a little flair and say something like it's both hunky and dory.
Oh, will you?
Something like that. Yeah, just to kind of, you know.
So
Okay. Yeah,
you've used
Jamie says he uses that word. He uses that. Means things are good. Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so we're all on now, mind you. I'm not looking at the history of this and that, but maybe some of these words you will know the history of. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that I don't know the history of the word, of like
I
where
don't
it
either.
originated,
Me
but
either.
it's just as fine that we talk about that. Maybe some other time we could go into the where the I should have preemptively had
Yeah.
the origins, but I just want to see, just to
Well,
gauge you
if
guys
there's
out.
interest in one or the other, we can do that. But it's interesting to me that Jamie says they use it over in the UK because I did not, number one, I didn't know that. But I thought it was one of those country American things
Well,
that,
go ahead, go ahead.
but it may or may not ever be. It's quite possible it's much older than that. Who knows? I don't know.
It could have been retroactively infused into the British
Mhm.
culture, because that
I mean,
happens too.
yeah, that's true. The American pop culture goes everywhere, and I apologize for that. Uh, so, Lord knows. I mean, there's a lot of debate about this, about the UK becoming Americanized simply because of so much pop culture, all of the American TV shows and movies and what music and what have you. So, Lord knows.
Um, I was gonna do a joke, but it's not the like I don't want to go into that thing. But I was gonna do it. I was gonna. I'm not even gonna say what well, I'll say it. I'll reveal it. I was gonna do a little manipulation thing. It was gonna be bull crap, and everybody's gonna know it. But just as one of those dumb, things,
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, well, the thing is that when we reinfused, I can't say this. When we reinfused English into into the UK after they were conquered by the French. I was gonna say some crazy thing, but let's leave it. I was gonna go in there
Yeah, we don't want to be starting World War III.
just to make some ridiculous thing. Okay, the next word. Fair enough. So we all use that word, and we have the same sort of
Okay.
meaning for it. Everything's
Okay.
just fine. Is basically
Okay. Jamie says apparently it comes from the 1860s after a street in Japan. I'll have to look it up. That's intriguing.
he could be pulling. He could be.
He could be.
He could be pulling our chain.
He could be. He could very well be, but he also may be serious and correct. So
He could be
I don't
turning our
know.
latch,
See, now that's why I
polishing the
like
knob.
this kind of thing, because I do get curious about where the heck did that come from.
All right.
You know.
Um. Oh, Kilroy's got one.
Here we go. This American coined adjective has been around since the 1860s, from the now obsolete hunky, all right, which stems from the New York slang hunk, in a safe position, and the Dutch root honk or home. The origin of Dory is unknown. Okay, yeah. Um, uh, Now it doesn't really rhyme, but rhyming things it was in vogue here in the States for a while. And it's where, see you later alligator, and after a while crocodile, and stuff like that. It all that became the vogue for a while. And hunky dory doesn't really rhyme, but it sounds, I would have said the 1920s, the jazz age,
No, it's
because
hold
there
on.
was a lot of slang that came out of the jazz age that we're still using.
Okay, that's true, but I just want to say hunky dory.
Hmm.
Although you're saying, well, it sounds like, but it sounds that way, in my opinion, is because we've been using it so long that it just
Hmm.
matches at this point.
Yeah,
But if it's
it's
raw out of nowhere, it's gonna sound like
mhm.
what, because it's not.
Well,
We're
if you
used to
swapped
it,
them around, if you said Dory Hunky, people would look at you like you were stupid.
but that's the point I'm
So,
making. No, yeah, I
yeah.
agree. But if out of nothing the
Hmm.
word dory honky or hunky or
Hmm.
whatever came out, then all of a sudden, after usage, people would
Hmm.
consider that normal.
Yes.
And so hunky dory sounds quite normal, but it's
Yeah.
a weird freaking saying. Anyways, whatever.
It is. It is weird, and we're talking about it. The meaning has been lost completely. I mean,
Yeah,
well, the meaning hasn't been lost, but the origin story of it. What
yeah,
the
it's
heck did
gone.
they mean? We know it means everything's fine.
You're gonna like this next one
Okay.
because it's close enough in time, but I don't want to. Everybody here is gonna kind of know it, but
Hmm.
it's one of those things that you can see that it's on the precipice of devolving into obscurity.
Yeah.
Maybe carbon copy. What's it mean?
I,
What's it tell me? And
I,
I know this one without even looking it up.
yeah, I still use it quite a bit. You mean an exact duplicate?
Right.
It's a carbon copy, and it comes from using carbon paper. Back in the old days, you had typewriters, you'd put two pieces together with a piece of carbon paper, and when you struck through, it would print on the top page and put a copy on the second page.
That's right.
And or when you're writing or drawing, and as a kid, I probably wore out. Oh my God, I probably wore out 1,000 pages of carbon paper just tracing worthless stuff out of magazines.
They used to sell
Just
them in
because I thought
sheets.
it was cool, you know.
Remember they sold them in sheets.
Yeah,
That dark purplish.
yeah. You could buy a box of it. It was like 100 pages. It came in a real thin box, size of a sheet of paper, and you put it between two sheets. But I would trace out comics out of the Sunday funnies, or I would trace out pictures out of magazines or what have you. Didn't do anything with them, but it kept me
It was
off the
fun.
streets. So,
Okay, good enough. Let's continue on. Easy one, I believe. You sound like a broken record.
uh huh. Now I've always had an issue with that phrase
Okay,
because what it means is repetitive over and over and over and over and over again. That's a scratched record. If a groove in the record gets scratched, the needle will just go back and repeat that same groove and just
that's
keep
right.
going back and keep going back and keep going back.
Correct.
A scratched record, yes. A broken record won't play.
It is technically.
Yeah, I've always, and yes, I am that guy. I am that pedantic. I am that nitpicky. But um, yeah,
It's not broken. It's scratched. But the point is exactly what you're saying.
yeah,
Um,
just
but that's
over and over the same thing again and again and again and again, like that.
yeah. But that's something also due to the media changing. Even though they're bringing back records, and people will soon find out that there's
Hmm.
issues, you have to take care of records. But it's one of those things that can also lead to obscurity. Yeah,
Yeah,
like
but and that's true. As technology changes and the times change, a lot of things go by the wayside, and we just don't use them anymore. But like for instance, do you notice that if we get our cell phone out and we shoot some video, we say, wait a minute, I'm filming this or I'm taping this. There's no film involved, there's no tape involved.
the
And
proper
a,
word.
and a lot of people who say this were born after film and tape went long
Yeah,
by the wayside.
yeah.
But we still use those two nouns as verbs when we're talking about, yeah, I got to go tape a video, you
But
know,
the correct term for nowadays would be what?
record
That's it.
or shoot video, whichever.
That's it. But
Mm.
we still get it.
Mm-hmm.
People now still get it
Yeah.
because it's conjoined with the rest of the sentence that they use it in. But it's one of those things that is in theory on its way out or out.
Well, film is out and tape is out. They're no longer used. Well, in most circles,
Mhm.
but we still know what it means and we still use it.
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna like the
Yeah.
next one.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if you're gonna like it.
I probably will.
Hung out to dry.
That one's pretty old as well. I don't think I use it much either. Hung out to dry is kind of left on your own, left kind of,
Hanging.
yeah, left in a circumstance where of uncertainty, by yourself or maybe in a bad position. Well,
Yeah.
I'm just over here hung out to dry while these guys are going to do this.
You left me hung out to dry last night.
Yeah,
Oops.
there you go. Jamie says deserted or stranded.
Yep.
Stood up. Yeah.
Stood up. Yep.
Okay.
That's the best answer right there. Although we're all in the same sphere, but that's very direct.
Yeah.
he has
Yeah.
he has dictionary opened up. Check this out. Just lay it on me. Because that's the exact thing. All right. So next one. Let's see about this one. Two peas in a pod.
Again, an exact copy.
I would not say that.
I would. It's we're two peas in a pod. We're duplicates. We're you know.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Or here's another one: cut from the same cloth.
Right. Okay. Well.
You
Okay. See,
know,
but now you're taking us. Okay. Okay.
and
So
but they both mean the same thing. You're different people, but you're basically the same.
to. Okay. I think this is
Two
gonna be.
individuals, but more or less the same. I'm sorry.
No. 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 Yeah. But I'm just gonna say that the way I, which is the same difference, except it is what it is. I would say like you two go together like white on rice or something. It's like two people that are attached at the hip is where my mind would, or like you guys do the same.
It may be, and it may be.
No, it's the same difference, roughly within the same
Well,
thing that you're saying. I don't think of it as you two.
uh,
Okay,
but
it's like
but you but you
dude.
can be two peas in the same pod, but not be, joined at the hip, as it were. My brother and I both like the same music. We both like the same TV shows. We both like the same movies. In that regard, we're two peas in the same pod. I
Can I?
haven't seen him in 6 years.
I gotta throw this out because I
Yeah, go
think
ahead.
we're in the same area,
Hmm.
but we have different variations as to where we would grab to use it, and that's what's
Hmm.
happening now. So I don't disagree with that. I think that makes sense what you're saying, but I would say I'll give you an example. Imagine, let's say let's just use this example. We're walking through the mall for some reason, um, and we see a couple dressed with those dorky same puppy shirts,
Hmm.
right? And they're joking at something, and they're like together and stuff. We would say those two people, they're like two peas in a pod right there, because they're doing things.
Yeah.
So there's this sort of, and it's really the same roughly vicinity as to what you're saying.
I see that, and I think that is an appropriate use of it as well. But I see it as, like Jamie said, here you go, kindred spirits, two people that just are into the same thing. They may not even know each other, but two outgoing people, killer businessmen that are out there, blaze their way to the top, doing everything legally and ethically and what have you. They don't even know each other, but they're two peas in the same pod
Yeah,
because their actions are identical. Give you a weird example. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. As different as you can be, born and raised completely differently, different areas. One went to LA, one went to Boston, but they were two peas in the same pod because they thought the game basketball the same way and they played the same way.
okay. Well, fair
So,
enough.
but
Fair, Jamie said that there's so many different definitions for it.
yeah,
I
I
don't.
and
No, go ahead.
I think it's appropriate for what you were saying too.
Right. I think that we're in. So, if you remember, like a few series ago or episodes ago, we were talking about variations English language and such and this and that. These are things that, like, let's say you have an experience with the saying that you lean more towards.
Yeah.
And I have another, but these that we're mentioning, in my opinion, are in the ballpark.
Yeah.
So it's not a stratosphere away.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. It's appropriate for that use as well.
Yeah. Okay.
So things can have more than one definition. I mean, the
Okay.
dictionary's full of them.
Here's one. A lot of moxie.
I don't know where it came from, but that's a lot of guts, a lot of intestinal fortitude, a
Yeah.
lot of bravery. Man, saying something like that, he had a
Endeavor.
lot of moxie.
Yeah. Endeavor. Nuts. Let's say guts.
Yeah, just
The nuts, the guts, and the beer.
yeah. Boy, he's brave to say that. That takes a lot of moxie.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So
think we're good with that one. All right.
now I do know that moxie is a brand of soft drink in the Northeast, but I've never tried it.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
How about this one? Straighten up and fly right.
Obviously, it came in the 20th century, but basically it just means get back on an even keel. And, well, there I just used another metaphor for the same metaphor. Just basically straighten yourself out
Yeah.
and
Get yourself together.
do the right thing. Yeah. Get
Yes.
yourself together.
Yeah.
And we now that comes from fixed wing aircraft when you're flying like this, straighten up and fly right. Okay. Linda and I both were worked on helicopters, and they can fly straight, slightly sideways, kind of crabbing along. And that's called being out of trim. Hey, you're flying out of trim there. And you've seen the guy walking down the street. He's kind of, it's like his left side wants to go before his right side does, and he's kind of
Yeah.
crabbing side. Dude, you're flying out of trim. Oh, okay.
Yeah, like Goofy.
Straighten up, fly right. You know.
All right. And the funny thing is that these are sayings that I feel like this one is one that is on its way out as well. In terms of the common usage, it may still be used, but I think that it's such a early 20th
Yeah.
century thing, right?
Yeah, I agree. In fact, a few of these are pretty old. Hunky dory's kind of old fashioned too.
Yeah.
People kind of look at that as being, oh wow, you would expect Ned Flanders to say it on The Simpsons,
Yeah.
you know, but you couldn't imagine Homer or Bart or Marge saying it.
Well, then I'll hit you with this one. Heavens to Betsy.
Yeah, that's another one of those Pollyanna phrases. And now I don't know that it's American. I'm willing to bet it is. Certain peoples, certain groups like to take a swear and make it nice, and they call that a minced oath. Like when you say "gall darn," you know what they're trying to say, but they're not saying it.
Yeah.
Or doggone, or even get further south and it's dad gum.
Or hot dog.
Yeah, it's a polite way to swear.
Yeah.
So but I think I mean, I haven't heard that used in a long time.
Heavens to Betsy, Alice. Why'd you go and do that? You know Earl's gonna be pissed.
Now, I don't know if you remember the cartoon Snagglepuss. His was Heavens to Murgatroyd. Heavens to Murgatroyd. Exit. Running all the way. Stage left.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do remember. All right, let's move on to the next one. These are fun, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another old one. Gee Willikers.
Yeah, that was kind of a play on Gee Whiz, which was kind of a play on Jesus. You know, you don't want to take the Lord's name in vain. You don't want to cuss. So you kind of cleaned it up for the kids.
Interesting. That's a good. I can travel down that lane because I can see the theory behind that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's more to it, or maybe that's the. But I can see the destination of that.
Yeah, it's and they call that again. They call that a minced oath, just simply because you know the intent, you know what they're trying to say, but they're presenting it in such a way that how could anybody be offended? Yeah.
I'll just run through these, and
Okay.
if one sticks out, jumping Jehoshaphat. Jumping Jehoshaphat.
Never said it in my life.
But you've heard it.
I've heard it, and I don't remember what it was in old movies. Jumping Jehoshaphat. But I couldn't tell you which one. Knucklehead I still use. Knucklehead that's one of those, it's almost playful. To me, anyway. And it means dummy, but you're not really calling somebody dumb.
Or silly. Silly.
Yeah.
Mr. Silly, you Mr.
Oh, come
silly.
on, Knucklehead. Push all the pedals. One of them's the gas. What's going on? Let's go. You know, it's kind of a playful insult, but not really an insult.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. And again, this is without looking up the Nincompoop is another one.
Yeah, it's another one.
Not well, go ahead. You had something to say about that one?
No, I'm just there, yeah.
Not for all the tea in China. What's that mean?
wouldn't do that, or not just no, hell no. Basically, I wouldn't trade that for all the tea in China.
Yeah, but it's
You know.
funny. It. What would be funny, or what would be interesting is, see. Okay, I'm just gonna say this. It reminds me, or it gives me the impression
Hmm.
of something that harks back to the understanding that from China we received imports such as tea.
Hmm.
Um, Although I know it's probably an 18 to 19 or 19 to 20th century saying, I don't know that, but I'm assuming that. Um, but it's a reflection of something. That's the connection that I picture of why it would come through there. Not for all the tea in China, because China does tea. It's part of the history. That's what I see. What do you see?
Um, I, I'm with you, but I think it goes further back than that, because for centuries the only place you could get tea was from China, until somebody smuggled some. I don't remember if it was seeds or plants out of China, and took it to India, and they started being able to get tea from India within a few years,
Let me add the
which brought
nuance.
down the value of Chinese tea.
Let me nuance that for half a second. So,
Okay.
right, it happened way longer. I know. Um, go, Going into the beginnings of modern time,
Hmm.
which is 15th century, 16th century, and so
Yeah.
on. But I'm saying that the saying feels like, I don't know that this is true, even though it happened hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It feels like from the last 200 years as popular saying, as a throwback, using it feels like it's something like that, as opposed to something that came from, like, let's say 1693, and somebody's, I don't know if it's been written that old.
I don't know either. I don't know that for a fact,
Yeah,
but um, well, Jamie alludes to it right here. Wasn't it something to do with the fact that Chinese tea was so expensive? And that's what made it such an impactful
interesting.
statement, because it was expensive. The Chinese could basically charge anything they wanted for the tea, because that was the only place you could get it from.
Yeah, if you wouldn't trade that for all the tea in China, that means that you wouldn't trade is that much
It's
more
valuable.
valuable.
Exactly. And now I may be completely wrong, but because like Linda had, she just added all the tea in China means a lot of something. You wouldn't do it if they give you an immense amount of whatever. I can see that too.
Well, you could say, you know what, that costs more than all the tea in China, so we might as well just keep window shopping, don't you think? Yeah, or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
You
I
could
can see
use
that
it.
as well.
That's a variation in
Sure,
it.
I can
Yeah,
see that as well. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Okay. I like that one, by the way, and I like it because of
now there's a variation on it that is, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
that's another variation on it.
Meaning something is irrelevant. Well, what the hell does that have to do with the price of tea in China?
I'm gonna throw something out at you guys. Let me
Hmm.
throw this out at you. This is a twist. Obviously, this is coming from my brain. Like, it could be nothing, but I would double down, and you guys will, if you're that interested, you'll find out and figure out how to correct it. I will double down with it being a late 19th century, early 20th century catchphrase, and this is why. And by the way, I don't know this, I'm just imagining.
Yeah.
But it could be close to the target. I don't know. In the early 20th century, as we have talked before, because we're, well, you've seen the Antiques Roadshow. It
Yeah.
appears that in the early 20th century, there was an American fascination, and maybe across Europe too, but there was an American fascination with everything Chinese, with all the little things, and even they made replicas. So it might be, and it was expensive. It might be that started to sort of unfold through that as a catchphrase to China in that sense. As a That's just an assumption, but I'll just leave that there with you
I,
guys.
it's, I don't know. I really don't know.
Because I don't see a 17th century British guy. I would do this terribly, which but no, I don't think so. Rupperford, not for all the tea in China. I don't see
I
that.
mean,
I see
yeah,
it more like
I'm
casually.
with you.
I say, hey, yeah, not for all the team China. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I see it more like in that kind of a world. But so I'll just leave it at that.
I'm with you. Yeah.
Sorry for the terrible non British thing that I tried.
Well, that's okay. Half of them can't do an American, so that's fine.
And what and what
Or
was up with
even,
Rutherford or Rutherford that I threw out there for no
hey,
apparent reason?
I didn't even blink at it.
Does anybody even know someone that's called Rutherford?
Not as a first name, but I do know a couple of Rutherford last names,
Okay, fair enough.
but
Anyways,
not as a first name. No.
okay, all right. Oh, let's read what Kilroy said.
Okay, here we go. The term originated in Australia and alludes to the presumed huge quantity of tea in China, late 1800s. Also, see for all the world, not for love or money. Oh, okay. All right.
Well,
All right.
there you go. Um, I'm glad that we know that now. I
Yeah.
don't think that we'll be able to forget that easily, but all right.
I can. I forget what I had for dinner last night. I can forget everything easily.
All right. This is another one we'll just, well, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
That's another. I'll be damned. No, I'll be a monkey's uncle.
Okay.
It's another minced oath that I have not heard in a long time.
Last one. Simple, but we'll end it with this one. Fancy free.
Don't know where it came from. I think the last time I ever used that phrase was talking about the Rod Stewart album, Footloose and Fancy Free.
Okay.
Um, Basically, just kind of careless, not a care in the world, just can do whatever. You know, uh, whether in denial or just that happens to be your circumstance, just not a care in the world.
Fancy free. Not a care in the
Hmm.
world. Yeah, I agree with that one. I don't know the origins of it either and whatnot. Okay, very good. So you knew all of those really, and so did the people out there. So
But again, I knew him from old movies, old pop culture. Um, I, Growing up, I was a huge fan of old movies from the 30s, 40s, and up to about the mid 50s. But to me, the heyday was the 30s and 40s. I loved the old comedies, the old dramas, the detective stories, the murder mysteries, the old horror movies with the big stupid rubber monsters and the phony makeup and everything. I mean, I loved that stuff. It was just it was uh, old. It was had a certain kind of a charm to it.
yeah,
There were some great stories, some great storytelling, and that was a major part of growing up. I really could take or leave most of the movies that came out in the 70s and early 80s. I was back in those old movies, watching the Marx Brothers or watching Bob Hope, Bing Crosby, or watching something like that's still one of my favorite movies of all time, 12 O'Clock High, or The Longest Day, or oh my gosh, Linda knows it's the John Wayne Otto Preminger about World War II. Patricia Neal, John Wayne, can't think of the name of it. One of my favorite movies of all time. Great, great film. And so that's where I picked up all this stuff. And I didn't really pay much of attention to it at the time because I figured, well, that was the 30s or that was the 40s. It was just the way they talked. We don't talk like that anymore. So it just kind of was there, but I got the context when it was used. So,
all right.
God, I
Well,
can't remember the name of that movie now, and it's gonna cheese me off. Got to look it up. Um,
shark tornado Stagecoach Part
In
Three.
Harm's Way.
Okay.
And it surprised me that was made in '65. I thought it was older than that. It is a very long movie. It's over 2 hours, 2.5 hours long.
Okay.
But if you ever get a chance to sit, if it comes on, worth it, worth it. It's called
You
In Harm's Way.
you guys, none of you guys out there. I'll tell you right now. I'm gonna throw this out. No, this is like a little, like a little. Let's. You guys out there, none of you guys have seen the movie East of Eden
East of Eden. I
with
haven't. I don't think I have.
what's this guy's name? Uh, the heartthrob from the '50s. Rebel without a.
Oh, James Dean.
Yeah, James Dean, East of Eden.
Never read. The only James Dean flick I ever saw was Giant,
That's a great.
and I I I just never really got into it.
It's
Uh,
long.
yeah, I'll have to check it out. I've been going back and kind of reading some of the old classic books and watching some of the older flicks. Um, and there's some good stuff back there.
Oh yeah.
Cary Grant was a fabulous comic actor. Uh,
Yeah.
the two the two Cary Grant movies that are my favorites are Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, about a New York advertising executive that buys a old rundown house in Connecticut
That's
and
made,
then goes about rebuilding it,
and all things happen along
and
the way.
all the stuff that's happening. Yeah.
That's inspired,
Hmm.
or it inspired in the 1980s, the Money Pit.
Yeah, I can see how. The Michael Keaton, yeah, I can see how.
No, the Money Pit was the guy with the frizzly hair, Tom Hanks.
You sure? I thought it was Michael Keaton.
No, I'm sure.
Money Pit. You're absolutely right. It was. Well, which one was the one? Oh no, I'm thinking of Mr. Mom. I'm thinking of Mr. Mom.
There was
Um, the Money Pit. I saw it once years ago, but another one was called Father Goose. Cary Grant's this old, grizzled old um, sea captain who was a coast watcher during World War II, and he's on this island. And somehow this woman and about 6, 8 teenage girls get shipwrecked on his island. And this is all about trying to get them off of the island before the Japanese spot everybody. And he's also a coast watcher. So when he sees aircraft, he has to go dive on his radio and report these aircraft coming in. And he's this old roughneck dude, serious drinker and what have you. First thing she does is hide the whiskey so he can't drink in front of the children. And I mean, it's a fun movie, but it's a great movie. And it's called Father Goose.
No, I have to check it out.
So how we got on that, I don't know.
It just happens.
Yeah, um, yeah. I don't know. I spent a good portion of my formative years staying up late. My mom had to go to bed early and get up real early. She got up at like 4 in the morning to go to work across San Francisco Bay in another city. My dad worked graveyard. So after dad went to work at 11 o'clock, my brother and I, we kind of hang. And then about 11:30, we were up and watching old movies till dawn on the UHF channels on the TV. Volume real low, and we're sitting right up on top of the damn thing so we could hear it, but to not wake mom up. But we'd stay up till 4 or 5 in the morning
I, I
all
used
summer long.
I used to love doing that. I could lay down on the bed and watch TV
Mhm.
up until maybe a decade ago. But for some reason, if I lay down, I'm out, dude. If I just go like this a little bit, I'm like, like there's no. I just within a short time, I can't. I can't. I just lights out.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
I used to read myself to sleep up until just about 5, 6 years ago.
Did you ever do one
I
of these? Bad.
No, because I lay on my stomach with my on one pillow with the book down on the other pillow, and then I would just kind of like that, and
That'll
I would
work.
wake up about a half hour later, close the book, shut off the light, and then fall back to sleep.
Yeah.
Sometimes, not always. Usually
The
fell asleep with the light on.
the best way to fall asleep, and I've said this before, but I'll say it now. If you ever need to fall asleep, I suggest you turn on Star Trek: The Next Generation. Sorry, Al. And you lay down and just watch one of the episodes. You just let it roll. Um, it'll put your butt to sleep.
What I do now instead of reading is I do something similar. Is I queue up some YouTube videos in a playlist or some videos that I have on a external hard drive on the computer in the bedroom, and I'll put those on. Just something to entertain the mind, just something going on in the background. Because if I lay there and try to go to sleep, my brain's going to keep working.
Yeah,
And I'm going to be thinking about something I got going on out here or something I want to do tomorrow or, measurements for this or what am I going to do with that or something like that. So I have to distract my brain in order to let it relax so I can go to sleep. And that's why I used to read.
yeah.
But it got to where I've read all the books in this house multiple times, and it kind of got to be the same things over and over, and I was getting tired of it. So I just started putting on videos, and then I'll lay there and I'll watch for a little while, and the next thing you know, I'm doing this, and that's it. And they run out, and it shuts off, and everything's cool.
A Jacques Cousteau episode, or Mutual of Omaha's Animal Kingdom
Well,
episode will do just the same.
I'm sorry to see Jamie go because I was going to talk to him about one. I watch a lot of British television uh, doing this. And one of the series that I cannot put on to go to sleep to is, and this is a great idea for a game show. It's called I Literally Just Told You. And it starts, they zoom in over the city of London and into the studio, and they introduce, welcome to I Literally Just Told You. Here's our players. And they introduce the four players. This is such and such. He's a postman from whatever city, and there's some graphics around his face. And then they go on to the next one. And the whole premise of this show is they write the questions as they happen, as it happens.
Okay.
So they said, this is the show, the easiest game show in the world because we give you the answers before we ask the questions. And we just started. And they'll go to the first contestant and say, how many years until this player turns 35? So you have to remember the intro for all of your fellow players. And I can't watch that and go to sleep because you have to watch everything and remember it to kind of play along at home.
Right.
It's a great idea for a show. It's fun, but they get into some weird stuff because they do tricky little things. Like he'll all of a sudden turn around and say to the camera, and that's our cue for a break. So stick with us. We'll be right back. And then he'll turn around and start talking to the producer. And you can see people come out from behind cameras and everything. And he'll say, okay, I got to do a little voiceover real quick. And he'll do a voiceover. The contestants will all have a drink of water or what have you. Then everything is done. And he'd say, this may not be, he'll say, that was not a real ad break. So everything that happened just now could be a question when we come back from this real ad break.
Oh
And then they
wow.
go to commercial. They will throw out facts and figures and stuff like that just to throw people off because they know the contestants are paying attention to everything.
Right.
And you may never hear about it again. But now you've got something in your brain
Yeah.
just there to
What a
confuse you.
mental job.
It is. And I can't watch that and go to sleep
What's
because
it
I
called?
have to play along. It's called I Literally Just Told You.
Okay. If you later you can link me to it, I'll check it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's some fun stuff.
Wow.
It's some fun stuff. Episode 2 is probably on YouTube because all four contestants I won't say they were dumb, but they did not pay attention. And about halfway through, the host is like, "You broke the show. You broke our show." And he turns around to the camera and he's like, "All right, we gave it a go, but don't give up on us. Maybe the next one will be better." But I mean, it was just, you people are playing for 10,000 pounds, and that's an absolute crime. You don't deserve it.
That's hilarious.
It's a fun show.
Did
But
you have anything before we land the plane? I mean, we've run our course tonight.
no. You said something about you had some words or phrases that you wanted to see if I knew, and that was about it. I stopped any kind of exploration for something else
Okay.
and just said, "Nope, I'm along for that ride. That sounds fun to me."
Well, we did have a good. There were some. So we had some exchanges that were interesting. Um,
Mhm.
we also confirmed that there's a lot of words or sayings from beyond our time that we understand as the same, roughly,
Mhm.
definition of what it means.
Mhm.
And what it implies is that, well, if we know it and they know it out in the
Yeah.
show here, um, it implies this sort of glue that we always talk about
Uh-huh.
of societal passing on the buck
Yeah.
forward, and whatnot. Um, so that was insightful on that level, and it was fun because to see the different variations on
Yeah.
each one. So it's always cool when lists get
Yeah.
mentioned and stuff.
I'm with you. I'm with you.
All right,
So, all right.
well, let's land this freaking
All
Apache.
righty. Let's do it.
All right, so we go live every Tuesday at 9:30 Eastern, 6:30 Pacific Coast time here on the Trampled Underfoot podcast show on YouTube. We have a website, trampledunderfootpodcast.com. You can catch our past episodes over there by pressing the Wayback Machine button, and you can download those to your podcatchers and computers and enjoy them on the go. They're all listed over there. And we also have a site over on Facebook where we post a few of the images and or videos and links of the things that we talk about during the show, and that's Trampled Underfoot Podcast on Facebook. And we're also sponsored by
Harneal Media, your web solution. If you're looking to increase your web presence or start a web presence, there's no better way to do it than with your own website. And the only web provider I will ever recommend is Steve Nealon over at Harneo Media. You know him, you love him. He's a friend of yours, he's a friend of mine, and I'm proud to say it. Talk to Steve, he will set you up. He will do as much or as little as you would like for him to do on that website, help you set up a web store, hook you up with a print on demand company that will handle your merch. That's Harneal Media, HARNEAL media.com. Sponsor trampledunderfootpodcast.com.
All right. Well, we would like to thank you guys. We hope you enjoy and have a great weekend. Be safe in the things that you do, but have a fun time doing so. And also, we like the change up that Mark has added to the show. We have a different view, a different area to look at, and so that was nice as well to
I may
have
be
that.
here next week. I may not be here next week. It's just going to depend on what the mood is. I wanted to get out of the house.
You'll have to stay tuned next time to find out. Like
Yeah.
the serials. Dun, 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 will
Find out
Mark.
next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Or did we just get a copyright strike?
Oh, don't do it. Don't do it. All right, guys. So enjoy yourselves. Have a good night, and see you.
Peace. Awkward wave.